Redditors of Reddit, what is the most strange wrong number call you've ever received? I had various police departments calling me looking for someone for about 8 months. I had my number for about 3 years when it started. Turns out police do not believe it when you tell them that they have the wrong number. They also don't believe you when you answer your door and tell them there's no Denise here. No, this is a single family home. No upstairs apartment. Yes, you're sure. You've owned the home for 10 years, and there's no Denise here. No, seriously. I don't even know anyone named Denise. I got called by a bowling alley asking me where the heck I was because I had made a reservation for 12 lanes. They spoke to me in German. I'm a Dutch guy. Still no idea how the heck that happened. Didn't make the dang reservation, that's for sure. Got one a few years back. A foreigner was on the other line and just kept saying, "Oh, hot dog" in a very excited tone. He'd say stuff in between saying that specific line, but I had no clue what he was saying otherwise. I had a missed call on my phone. I rang it and no one answered. I went to text it, and when text messenger came up it said my name as the contact. It showed as a random number in my call log, but it wasn't my number, and I had my number for about 10 years. The phone was a brand new one that had never had another SIM card in it. I texted it and no one replied, and the text also didn't come through to me like it does when you text yourself. My friends tried calling and couldn't get through either. No one ever answered or messaged back. Strangest thing was this number hadn't been saved as a contact in my contacts until the call came through, and my phone wouldn't allow me to delete the contact or number. Weird. Beginnings of one OLEP post. This guy called my office number asking questions about a tracking number for a package, which has nothing whatsoever to do with my employer's business. I told him he must have the wrong number, and he got really disproportionately mad at me. Like, no. I looked up the number and called the number, and now you have to tell me where my package is. It wasn't that he was mad at me for telling him he had the wrong number. He was mad that he had done the required work by looking up the number and calling the number, and I wasn't holding up my end of the bargain by giving him the information he wanted. So apparently Vivian puked in some guy's bag and owes him 50 euros. Her friends think she's a bee for standing up this one guy. This guy's PR'd Vivian for not showing up after he texted her the info. The place looked pretty nice. Some old friends want to catch up with her. Lady really should learn her own phone number. Having to explain to some P-off guy that I'm not Vivian. Duh, I'm a guy with a pretty deep voice. I can't put Vivian on the phone, and that she's not right there next to me got real old fast. Also, I apparently have someone's dead brother's phone number and he keeps wishing him a happy birthday. He stopped last year, so I imagine he probably passed on. My name is somewhat special, and one day I got a call from someone who knew my name, but I didn't know that person. So I said so. He replied something like, "But it's me, name, from class." So I replied that I was a 50-year-old man who hadn't taken any classes for quite a few years now. Turns out that somewhere in Copenhagen there's a young man with the same name as me, and he has a friend whom I cannot convince over the phone that I am not his friend. I got a call one night about 10 p.m. from a man who said, "Mary, what are you doing?" Mary happened to be my name. Not really, but so as not to reveal my identity on here, suffice to say he actually got my name right. So I said Johnny. Believe it or not, that was his name too. What are the odds of that happening? Two strangers getting each other's names correct. J. Yeah. What are you doing? Bar sounds and background. M. Nothing. What are you doing? J. I'm at Randy's and they're having karaoke, and winners get $100. M. Really? Whoa. You going to try for it? J. Only if you come and sing with me. Come on. It'll be fun. M. I'm broke on fun money this week. J. Yeah? Well, okay. I'll buy. You're not going to drink me broke, are you? Laughing hysterically. M. No. You know me. I'm lucky to drink one beer all night. J. Yeah, I know you. I was just teasing. More laughter. M. Hey, remember the last time we sang karaoke? J. Hey, hang on a second. Don't hang up. I'm going to get me another beer, okay? Don't hang up. Be right back. M. Okay, I'll hold. Husband looks over at me and mouths, "Who you talking to?" I mouth back, "Johnny. He's at Randy's." My husband looks at me strange and says, "Hang up." I say, "No, it's Johnny." Husband goes, IT's not Johnny. I talked to him just now and he's at home. Hang up Lucy. Mouth gaping open and eyes wide with disbelief. I held the phone to my ear in shock. Suddenly, J. Hey, you still there? M. WHO is this? J. You forgot already. And I'm the one drinking. Hysterical laughter. M. Number. Really WHO is this? J. Mary. Come on. M. Tell me or I'm hanging up. J. Okay don't hang up. It's Johnny. M. Johnny WHO? J. Mary. Come on. Okay don't hang up. Johnny Westfield. Not real name. M. OMG. You've got the wrong number. J. What? This is Mary Monroe, right? M. No. I'm Mary but my last name is not Monroe. J. Seriously. You sound just like her. Well, do you want to come down to Randy's and karaoke with me? Laughs hysterically. M. I don't think so. Goodbye. Laugh. J. Okay. You sure? Okay. Nice talking to your laughs. We hang up. Then I died laughing about the odds of something like that happening between complete strangers. I got a call at my office desk phone one day. No one external from the company had this number. I answer with hello. This is Phantom of the computer with company name Realtors. How can I help you? The person on the other line immediately responds with, do you sell lawnmowers? It took a good 3 minutes of explaining that he called a real estate office and that we don't sell lawnmowers. When I was around 13, a local social worker had apparently misprinted their business cards with my cell phone number on them instead of their own. So for a few months, I check my phone at the end of the school day and have voicemails from people asking about their court dates, whether they have to quit smoking weed, when they could see their kid. That was fun. English was not their first language, but I got a call and they asked for someone. I told them it was the wrong number. They called back and asked for them again. I told them it was the wrong number. They called back again but I didn't bother to answer and they left a voicemail asking for the person again. They kept calling and eventually I had to just answer again and tell them to stop because they clearly had the wrong number and they yelled at me for not being who they wanted to call. I got phone calls from Utah and Oklahoma. I'm from Indiana. Trying to sell furniture for the church they thought I was building. I told them they had the wrong number, but they repeated my own phone number to me and insisted that this was the right number. I had voicemails from them almost every day for about a month. My friend had a crazy voicemail left on his phone by an unknown number once. Let's just call him Todd. The guy said something like, hey, this is Todd, right? Hey Todd, I've been seeing you in my dreams, man. We've connected on a plane that you can't reach from this dimension. We need to link our dreams together to meet them. Contact me ASAP. Todd, this is really important. When you call that number back you get an invalid number response. Nobody in our immediate friend circle recognized the voice and that was the only time the guy's ever called. I'm under the impression that it's just someone pulling a prank on him, but the invalid number part and the fact nobody recognized the voice kinda gives room to doubt. The phone kept ringing in the middle of the night when I was maybe 10. When I finally answered it, this southern sounding guy told me he'd run over my horse. I think you have the wrong number, mate. I don't have a horse. I don't even live in America. He started yelling. I panicked and hung up. He kept calling back. I was super freaked out. I went and woke my dad in tears. Dad answered the phone the next time it rang and went freaking off at him. Mum just sat there while a redneck and a bogan screamed at each other in the middle of the night. I was regularly getting phone calls from a public school in NYC asking me to come pick up my son Mohammed from the nurse's office. I don't live in NY and I don't have a son. But let me tell you, this little frick was in the nurse's office every other day for a few weeks. I gotta be honest, I think he was faking it. Well, his name was Mohammed in a NYC public school. I could see him have a tough time. Not a call, but a text. Someone CC'd me into a group text and I just observed silently. These suckers were some thugs planning a gang attack. Cops called. Problem solved. I kinda wanted to keep reading to see how they operated, but I knew that could get me into some crap. Avoided it. Still wonder today what would have happened if I had said I was in. I got calls and text messages from someone's estranged sister telling me that dad died, was in high school, so had the phone turned off during class. When I turned it on, I got long text rant about this is why I am in butthole. Also lots of debt collection calls on same number. I got a call from this one guy working on someone's house. I pick up and say hello and he starts talking. Guy: hey man, I picked up what you asked and I was gonna start working today, but I must have wrote the number down wrong to call the guy. He goes on for a minute or two about the project and I can't get a word in until he finishes speaking. Me: you got the wrong number. Guy: yeah, I know, I said that earlier, I said I wrote it down wrong. But I got everything and will be able to start once I call him. Me: no, you have the wrong number. Guy: I'm aware of that, if you could give it to me then I'll call him and get started. Me: no, this conversation we're having is the wrong number. I'm the wrong number, I don't know you. Guy: oh, I dialed wrong, haha, okay, sorry. I got a new phone number. 3 days later, I started getting phone calls from various women looking for someone named Jason. I told them all the same thing. Didn't know Jason, and this was my number now, and please stop calling. Last one I got was from a woman who, when I told her the above, scoffed and said, yeah right, let me talk to him. I know that sucker is with you. If you don't let me talk to him, I'm going to hunt you down. Honey, I don't know Jason. I'm not with Jason. And if I was Jason, I'd be hiding from you too. Told her I'd call the police if she didn't stop harassing me, and that was the end of it. Multiple calls from various people over a few months, asking for the Psychic and Mediumship Society. You'd have thought they'd have known. Not entirely odd, but a little. I was feeding my neighbor's cats the other morning when I missed a call from a number pretty similar to mine. Same area code and first 3 digits. I called it back right after I missed it. A girl answered and I explained I'd just missed a call from that number. She said up, went dead silent for a solid couple of seconds, and then just hung up. Odd, but whatever, I guess. Later that day I decided to take a nap and woke up to my phone ringing, and it was the same number. I answered it, and some guy asked why he kept getting calls from this number. I was grumpy about being woken up, but explained that I'd called that number only once, and it was to return the previous call. He said, well, let's just stop playing phone hockey here. As I went to hang up, I heard him ask who I was, but I never answered and just followed through with hanging up. I figured, after he so rudely told me to stop calling him, that would be the end of it. Nope. I got up to take a crap, and he called back. I answered with UHH. Why are you calling me? And he apologized pretty half-heartedly for being rude. I said it was no big deal and then got on with my day. Haven't heard from him since. It's a scam. Phones calls come in with your area code and prefix, so you think it's someone in your area. Then they get you. I got a long series of super shady texts for months when a car thief fencer gave out my number to a lot of his contacts instead of his own. The first few were just super confusing. Then I figured out what was going on and tried to play them for more info so I could turn him in, but it turns out people asking to buy stolen cars over text are pretty suspicious, and realized something was up. They'd never tell me who the guy was or what number it was supposed to be. Car sales. Lady called up to yell at a different dealership service department and the call didn't get answered quickly, which meant it went to the whole back area, and I picked up. I say hello and she starts getting really pee because the wrong service department charged her daughter what she believed was way too high of a price for a transmission issue, and they were a bunch crooked buttholes and she'd never be back there. She was really unloading on the phone. I couldn't get a word in edgewise and didn't even know she had the wrong dealership until a minute or so had passed. Finally I say, well, you have actually called their competition, and I'm actually in the sales department, and she was very apologetic. Then I figure, what the heck? Sounds like your daughter's car is having some old age issues. Why don't you replace it with a new one? And she's all about it. She's going away to college actually. She's going to need a new one. Do you have a blue one? I sure do have a blue one. It's a higher trim level, so it'll have a backup camera and a sunroof, and it'll pair with her phone easily for hands-free calls. I don't have a manager available, but I know what I can give away for pricing. If you put a deposit down on it, I can have it ready to go tomorrow. And that's how I sold a car to a wrong number. When I was maybe 7 years old, I was spending the night at my grandma's. The phone rang. My uncle answered, then awkwardly handed me the phone saying it was for me. Conversation that followed. Come over. I can't. I'm sleeping at my grandma's. You're what? I'm sleeping at my grandma's. Is this Lauren? Yes. At this point my uncle took the phone back and it was resolved that some teenagers dialed the wrong number, asked for Lauren, and wound up talking to a 7-year-old Lauren who was interested in hanging out with some fun sounding people but was also really excited about sleeping at her grandma's. For about 3 years a guy would call my house and ask for Dana. Sorry, you got a wrong number. 2-3 months goes by and guy calls and asks for Dana. Sorry, you got a number. At the end of the 3rd year he calls and asks for Dana. Yeah, she's in the shower. He replies, haha, Dana is a guy, yeah, he's in the shower too. Long silence before he figures it out. I got the wrong number, don't I? Yes you do, and have for 3 years. You missed a great opportunity to say there is no Dana, only Zuel. I had a good year of this woman thinking my number was her grandson's or, I don't know, her nephew's. She was older sounding and very country-ish. One time I answered and the phone was breaking up, but it was actually rather easy to talk to her. She didn't for second pause and question if it was her relative. I didn't abuse it though, I just talked to her and she asked if I was going to bring the fish batter on Thursday and I said yes and she said more, but it got choppy again. After that call she kept calling too but I never answered. Another time I can't explain. I received a text from my friend Pete's house. It said don't come outside. My friend who was a Hmong told me about a folk myth that spirits will knock on your door and if you let them in they will tell you something you might need to know in your life. So he begged me to text back to see what would happen and I agree. I reply, why not? After a few minutes I get texted back because we are out here. I'm not going to lie, but it was horrifying at the time. The next day back at my house I reply back and say still outside Pete's house. The reply I received was about 3 pages of me being called out on all of my freak-ups and a lot of shit that very few people knew. I still remember how it all tied up in the end. They ended the whole line of text with "You're just an immature punk who's failing at his responsibilities," and that honestly pegged exactly how I felt about myself and was lit a confirmation that someone else thought that about me too. I never texted back but I did try to grow up some. Some weird dude who seemed to think I was Chinese and verbally attacked me, referring to me as a CHNK and some other stuff before threatening to have nukes dropped on my country even though I clearly live in Canada. He realized his mistake as soon as he heard my accent. This happened about like 3 years ago. I was hanging out at my friend's house playing some 2K and all of a sudden I get this random call. Wasn't an unknown caller ID but it was from area because of the area code. The man starts speaking and says my full name, my friend's full name, and my other friend's full name. None of us were related, we all just really good friends. I put the guy on speaker and I say who's this because he really scared the crap out of us because he literally said all of our names. He starts saying that he is God and knows everything. We all looked at yourself and were like WTF is going on, and then for shoots or giggles we start asking him more questions like what's our mom's name and grandma's name. He literally starts saying all of your mom's and grandma's name. At that point we were literally freaking the frick out. IDK, what was the point of his call? Like he never stated what was the reason for him calling me but he just kept spitting out facts and everything about us. What year were we born, where we live, etc. We tell my friend's dad and he didn't believe us so we asked the guy on the phone to tell us info about my friend's dad and he literally says everything about him. We can see in my friend's dad that he was spooked as well. He tells us right away to hang up. We hanged up and ever since that day he never called back. Once got a voicemail from a guy following up on an interview he had with a company. Normally, I just ignore when wrong numbers leave me voicemails. But I decided to text the guy and let him know that he had the wrong number so that he could actually get in touch with the company he'd interviewed for. Sent him something like, hey man, just wanna let you know that you called the wrong number before because I don't work for such and such company. He said okay, then asked if he had gotten the job. I told him again that he had called the wrong number, and he says something like, oh, I get it. Well, do you have any tips for where I went wrong with you and what I could do better at my next interview? Finally texted him something along the lines of, dude, I'm a college student. I have no idea if you got this job or not. I don't even have a job. You called the wrong number. He seemed to understand after that one. I finally get to tell Reddit this. I got a call from some kid one time. All he said was I don't masturbate for satisfaction anymore. I do it out of habit. Then click call was over. It had me dying and made my day. I used to have the old phone number of this semi-famous country singer. About once every 2 weeks or so I'd get a pretty boring messages about booking gigs and doing promo stuff for her newest projects. At which point I'd explain that they have the wrong number. But one time this guy texts me out of the blue and says, "Hey baby, I heard you are in St. Louis this week. We should meet up. You make me feel like a sexual Viking." So I know he's trying to get a hold of the singer-songwriter. So I decide to mess with him. I send him a few messages back and forth just to get him worked up, and I send him a picture of me naked with a Viking helmet over my junk with a pair of work boots and knee-high socks. I'm not fat, but I'm very hairy and I had a long beard at this time. Then I told him he had the wrong number. He didn't text back after that. A friend of mine's phone number is 1 digit different from a nearby brothel. He regularly gets 3 AM calls asking about prices and services. He plays along sometimes. One guy asked how much anal was and my mate said $250. Bid for you. $350 and the guy just said okay and hung up. 2. My turn to share a good story from college. Back in the day of answering machines and pre-cellular phones, I had a bizarre message on my machine. It was faint but I heard a man's voice saying something about a group message. This was followed by what sounded like several words and numbers. It was creepy and chilled me. I have always been fascinated by numbers stations, so this one had me wondering. Never had a call like this. I saved it and played it for a blind friend of mine who had way better ears than I do. He listened a few times and gave a word for word rendering. I had no idea what any of it meant, but it was creepy. I saved the message and would play it for a few people I knew. About a week later I get another one. Different words and numbers. But it came through to me when I was there. I picked up and asked, "Who the heck is this?" Click. They hung up. I'm thinking it's a prank or a screw up by some spy dude who called my number by accident. Either way, I have no way of knowing what that call was about. But I had like 20 more calls that evening with odd noises and voices. I reported it to campus police and told them I'm getting odd calls and here's what is going on. And I had the police come and take a report and listen to the saved recording. The cops were at my apartment later and during their visit I received a call. Yep, more strange stuff. Numbers, words. Cop picks up my phone and demands to know who it is. Click. They hung up on the cops. Cops take my info and that was it for the night. The next day I had visitors. Yep, a man and woman who identified themselves as feds. Accompanied by campus police. I lived on campus apartments. I was not panicked or freaked cause I didn't do anything. I was asked a boatload of questions. The feds listened intently to my recording. After they were done they told me. They didn't ask. They told me that any more odd calls and I am to call them on a personal number. Pre-cell days, so I assume it was a landline, and do my best to let my answering machine screen all calls. Strangely enough, I never had any more calls. I never heard another word from the feds, but I found out a few years ago that my phone, which was a campus phone, was monitored by our university thereafter. Friend works there and did some digging. To this day I have no idea what the heck happened and it still is freaky as heck. I really don't care about them monitoring my phone or any of that cause I'd rather they catch or stop who was doing it. But I can honestly say I have had feds visit me for receiving what clearly is a very interesting series of wrong numbers. Oh, and one time someone called me and was going to kill my kids because I shorted them on drugs. I don't have kids. I don't deal drugs. I'm not dead. This was a voicemail because I missed the call, but whatever. When I was 14, I got a voicemail from an unknown number, and when I listened to it, nobody spoke directly into the phone, but in the background I could hear two old ladies chatting. They were talking basically about how they didn't know how to work these newfangled phones. It went on for about 5 minutes, until one said, "I think you got the wrong number," and the other one went, "Oh dear," and then there was fumbling and then the voicemail ended. Not really that weird, but I thought it was cute and funny. I couldn't help picturing two sweet little old ladies in a bingo hall, trying to call their friend on the new phone that their grandchild had bought for them or something. I was almost tempted to call back and tell them whose number they got, but then I thought that would be stupid, so I didn't. Obligatory answer that's only mildly related to Arp's question. Around a year-ish ago I got a voicemail that was a series of a few other voicemail bots constantly talking over each other. It was about 3 minutes of 6+ bots saying sorry, the person you have called is busy right now, etc, and loads of feedback and painful echoes. Weirdly, none of them seemed to stop talking so a message could be taken. They immediately started up again after the beep. LOL. I tried googling it and I couldn't find anything, so I just assumed it was a prank. Still kind of weirds me out though. Mostly that someone got my phone number and used it for that. A long time ago, when landline was as ubiquitous as mobile phones, I had this little kid who used to call me every Thursday night. Like clockwork my phone rings. I pick it up and some little kid screams into my ear, "Papa, guess what happened today?" and he proceeded to narrate his day to me. Cute but annoying after the third call, and he refused to acknowledge that I'm not his daddy. Fourth call and it was his mom. She apologized to me and told me that her husband is serving time in prison. Her son is autistic and our phone numbers differ by a digit. Son thinks daddy was at work. That broke my heart. I ordered her not to stop him. For 4 months I picked up the phone on Thursdays, listened to the boy and encouraged him for being a good kid. All he wanted was someone to talk to. 5th month I met the mom and the boy. He called me Uncle Ice Cream Man because I had a whole bag of ice cream flavors. Didn't know what he might like, so I bought nearly $20 worth. Weird wrong number call resulted in a happy relationship with that family. Not too strange, but there must have been a mix-up at an office building because for about 3 months I was getting phone calls every day from people for IT issues. The biggest request was from people who forgot their passwords and were locked out of their desktops. 2. This one time some ruffian kept calling my phone threatening to kill me, screaming like a banshee. Throughout several calls I was able to infer that he was trying to contact someone who he believed to have stolen his Xbox. And even when I told him he had the wrong number he wasn't hearing it. My roomie and I took turns riling him up after that. Fun weekend. After I got my new phone number, I'd get a bunch of random calls, but the one that was the most memorable came from a guy looking for Charles. He'd call multiple times a day, and when I'd finally answer and tell him over and over, "Listen dude, there is no Charles here, you've got the wrong number," he'd apologize and call straight back. Sometimes he would try and explain why he was looking for him, but he had a super thick accent. Think Boomhor X100, and I never could understand him. Finally one day my boyfriend gets tired of the guy calling and answers it, mimicking the guy's speech pattern. I thought he was just making fun of him, and after a while they hung up. Come to find out, boyfriend was actually holding a legitimate conversation in what he called bumfuck West Virginia accent. Turns out Charles is this guy's brother. Dude has been in jail and just got out and was trying to get a hold of their mom. He's also apparently gambled all his money away and was trying to come home. I guess he finally made, as I haven't had a call from him since. Apparently a guy named Jeff used to have my phone number. I occasionally get pictures of his nephews with captions like "They're almost as tall as you, Jeff," and "Happy birthday, New Year's, Father's Day, anniversary, Halloween," etc. I politely inform them every now and then that I am not Jeff. They apologize, and then in a few days the texts start up again. All was fine until a different number began calling me and leaving very frightening voicemails looking for Jeff. Not threatening towards him or anything, but stuff that made me think this person really needed to find Jeff. I called the number back. No answer. Reached out to the other Jeff numbers, and all that did was get me more family photos. One included a cat in a dollhouse, which I thought was cute. Never did figure out if that lady was okay. Not a wrong number as such, but I was home alone in my parents' house, dog sitting while they were away. It's a big old farmhouse on top of a fell, with no houses for about half a mile or so. The phone rings, so I run to answer it, but I'm just too late, so I wait a few seconds, figuring if it's important they'll ring back. Sure enough, it rings. I answer it instantly, and there's a few seconds pause, then what sounds like a young girl just saying goodbye in the creepiest voice with absolutely zero emotion in it. Safe to say I did not sleep that night. Turns out it was an automated call that had gone through to the answer phone and then somehow rang again, so I got the tail end of the sales pitch being closed off, not some terrifying threat that I was about to be killed and buried in the woods. Still scared the living badgerbus out of me though. not proud of this, but for a whole year this old woman kept leaving messages on my voicemail thinking I was her son, and always starting with, "This is the number you gave me, so I'm calling it." For a while I ignored it, thinking this woman must know by now I wasn't her son, as my voicemail greeting said my full name and my female voice. My BF told me it's cruel not to call or text her back, but I kept insisting she will figure it out. And also, to be quite honest, it was a very dark time in my life and I found myself starting to look forward to her voicemails because they came every holiday right on cue with things like, "I will always love you and you are not alone." And she was the only one who actually called on holidays. I am estranged from my family and my BF had broken up with me at this time. Eventually Christmas came around, and knowing how hard it was to spend without family, I couldn't let her keep thinking she was leaving messages for her son. I picked up this time and said abruptly, before she could speak, "I'm really sorry, I'm not son's name. He gave you the wrong number." There was a long sad pause before saying, "It's okay, I know." We both said Merry Christmas, talked a bit, and I ended the call saying I hope she hears from her son one day. She replied that she hopes I hear from my mother as well. That was her last call. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.